So namaste and hello and welcome to everyone today, all of our viewers who are tuning in for the Hindu Women's Festival 2021. Today we have myself, Dr. Harish Nakum, and Lavina Mehta MBE, who has kindly joined us in today. The topic title we have today is the benefits of fitness beyond the gym. You're all probably sort of dying to know what Lavina does and who she is. So this is Lavina Mehta MBE. She is a 43-year-old award-winning personal trainer and mum of three. Yes, that's right, three. And she has recently been awarded an MBE for services to health and fitness during COVID-19, this horrible pandemic that we're all trying our best to get through. And that was in October, so a few months ago, for the Queen's Honours List. Over lockdown, which we've all found ever so difficult, she's provided free twice daily virtual workouts with her family. And that's aimed at keeping all people of all ages mentally and sort of healthy from a positive view from home. Her slogan, one of her main slogans, which I really like, is exercise for sanity and not vanity. She's also provided a free feel-good 21-day workout plan. So Lavina's workouts specifically designed sort of virtually, especially with the pandemic in mind, so for seniors in English and Gujarati, which will appeal to a lot of our viewers today. And one thing that's very interesting is she's done it with her 73-year-old mother-in-law, featured on national TV and radio, and inspired thousands of elderly members of the community to get involved. She's continued to give back to the community that's affected the British Asian communities and help the elderly and vulnerable to stay fit physically and mentally. She's continued to provide free home workouts and videos throughout the whole pandemic and is still doing so, I believe. She's also used her concept of exercise snacking, which I'm sure she can give us a bit more of an insight to later on, for her daily feel-good fitness advent calendar workouts through December on her Instagram. And she appears regularly on TV and radio, passionately promoting the health benefits of exercise to treat, prevent, and reduce the risks of common chronic diseases that we all see across all communities, but specifically in our communities, such as diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and osteoporosis. So that's Lavina's sort of interesting story and journey. Welcome today, Lavina, to our festival. Could you just give a bit about a taste of sort of what's your why, sort of where did all this come from, and sort of where everything has originated from, really?
Oh, thank you so much, Harish, for a lovely introduction, and so excited to be part of this festival today. My why, I guess, in terms of how long I've been doing this, it hasn't been very long. It's only been close to 3 years since I qualified as a personal trainer. I am a mum of three, and I gave up my corporate career after my youngest son, who's now 13. At the time of my in my 20s, I absolutely loved being a global project manager. I managed to juggle things in the corporate world with 2 children. But I then went on maternity leave and decided to not go back to that job. Took 10 years out, and in that time I actually joined the gym myself when my youngest son got into full-time education at the age of 3. So all my boys were quite settled, and I just joined a local gym, like I'm sure lots of us do. It was a bit of a social, school mums dropping off, going straight to the gym, doing a class on the gym floor, enjoying it, but probably not getting amazing physical results at the time. So I invested in my own coach, and I got myself a personal trainer, and I fell in love with the world of strength training, which I can elaborate on a little bit later. And what it just did for me, not just physically, but mentally. And I guess my why probably originated from a little bit of a health scare that I had in my late 20s, where I had a little bit of mild dyskaryosis after a smear test. It did send off some alarm bells. I have publicly spoken about it because, again, I'm all about trying to raise awareness and break some of the taboos, especially in our communities, about discussing some of these important matters. So I was on Sky Television in December, going back 2019, where I talked quite openly about this. So having my own bit of a scare, and then during the last 6 years, we lost my father-in-law to a brain tumor very suddenly. And I really found that fitness helped me through those 6 months where he was diagnosed and we lost him so fast. So I've kind of used those things to help really when I'm getting a little bit less motivated. And I've been really passionate researching, like you said, about the health benefits of exercise in preventing so many chronic illnesses. So I do use all of that as my personal why.
Well, I think first and foremost, I want to sort of thank you for being so open and honest with us. Those sort of real life stories that you've shared, like you said, you've shared them publicly, and once again in this festival sort of environment, um, it takes a lot of resilience and sort of willpower and sort of internal bravery to share those. So thank you very much. I think that will sort of motivate people to battle the taboos and open up and widen the conversation that we're all part of today. Um,
Right.
the one thing I want to sort of ask you is a lot of, especially I know this from personal experience, I'm still trying to get fit day by day, and I understand the importance of it, in my day job as a doctor and sort of outside of working life. But a lot of women sort of, especially like, for example, my mother, my grandmother, over the years have struggled to sort of get involved in fitness and get involved in the gym. And it's always a bit something that the sort of rich people do, or the people that go to the fancy gyms like Virgin Active or whatever. What's your advice on that for people sort of really struggling to go to the gym and get fit in that sense?
So before the pandemic, I'd just like to mention that I raised a campaign just before COVID hit us called Get UK Asians Fit. And it was all around this research I was doing about our Asian community in the UK. So there were lots of studies and YouGov polls that showed that Asians are less physically active than the white population. And I'm talking, you know, not just adults, but also children. And then obviously leading to our high alarming statistics that really got to me about diabetes being 6 times more likely if you're an Asian. And we know that diabetes is on the rise. There's so many cases of pre-diabetes. It's predicted to be around sort of 2 million in sort of the last year. And in terms of preventing diabetes, type 2 diabetes can actually be reversed through exercise and a healthy diet. So I think in the UK, there is this national obesity crisis. And unfortunately, with Asians being less physically active, I felt like I had to do some sort of urgent intervention. So I did raise a press campaign. And in that campaign, just to touch on why I think, you know, our parents, our grandparents may not be used to exercise, I identified quite a few barriers that I felt the Asian community have in terms of exercise. I did a lot of kind of research and discovery. And we know in terms of cultural norms, especially as females, and I will talk, you know, a lot being a mum and a female myself, I think there's a lot on the female side about being domestically responsible. We have certain duties with our families. Then on top of that, you know, the social expectations. So I think personally, you know, identifying these barriers, that exercise is probably deemed a little bit low priority and undervalued in our previous generations. And then you have things like religious beliefs. So, you know, if there's people don't feel comfortable going into mixed sex gyms, so you wanted single sex classes or instructors, and the obligation to others. So we're always caring for our families come first. And, you know, even I can relate when I lived in a joint family with my elder 2 kids. It could be seen as being a little bit selfish if I just said, you know, to my mother-in-law, well, I'm going to drop the kids and you won't see me till 11 or 12 o'clock because I'm going to go to the gym. So there's always that sort of pressure, and I feel like as Asians, you know, we have a lot of that. And another thing I sort of thought about was that there's a bit of a lack of role models in the health and fitness space. So there's not many people or females out there that we can really relate to or aspire or get some of the confidence, and a massive lack of education around what we should be doing. So my main aim is to make exercise very easy, very accessible. I want to break the barriers around cost, time, and motivation. I can honestly say through this pandemic, I mean, I've obviously done everything for free. I hope it's inspired people to see that you don't have to fork out and be in one of these flashy gyms. You can be doing home workouts. There's so much free content out there. I mean, by all means, look at everything that I've shared, as well as loads of other amazing trainers. So cost, I want to break that down. It doesn't have to cost anything, and you can use, you know, simple things in the home. You'll see even my elderly community are using things like tins and plastic bottles, so you don't have to fork out on expensive equipment either. And in terms of motivation, you know, I'll touch on my methods like exercise snacking. I think that helps to break down that big barrier, as well as the factor of time, which we're also short of. So yeah, a little bit, you know, around that context of, I think there is a lot of pressure and a bit of a lack of education. So I'm hoping to change that, you know, with all the work I'm trying to do in our communities.
I think the work you're doing, Lavina, is very inspiring. And like you said, you're a great role model for the community out there, especially for the women that are watching today. There's probably a lot of people out there, Indian and Hindu women, that are mothers of three, having to juggle the housewife role potentially, or the sort of previously known as housewife role, the family dynamics. And that sort of brings me beautifully onto the lack of time, because as well as being a mum, like you said, that you are a regular job, and even with the COVID sort of pressures and the barriers that we have, people still, throughout the lockdown as well, still don't have the time to do things. So that sort of brings me beautifully onto your principle of exercise snacking. Now, I've done a little bit of reading on this. Can you please tell our viewers a bit more about what this is and how they can use that in their daily routines?
Yes, I mean, it's officially the healthiest type of snacking around. I love saying that. It's not, unfortunately, having a chocolate while you're doing exercise. So I'll just clarify that as well. I've been on a lot of TV and radio, and I've heard all the puns associated. But exercise snacking is all about literally taking bite-sized amounts of exercise through the day. There's been some incredible studies that you don't have to do a full hour's workout, that snacking on 5 or 10 minutes bouts is just as effective, if not more effective, for certain things like controlling our blood sugar for people with diabetes, or even preventing diabetes, type 2 diabetes, from occurring. So it is literally that. It's about finding something that you enjoy. I have snacks for everything, covering, you'll see on my Instagram stories, I daily, I think, post out my walk snacks. I call them feel good walks, because I literally believe in just stepping out, even for 5 or 10 minutes. I go whatever the weather. I now have a dog, a little puppy as well. So, but even before the dog, I feel like just getting out in the fresh air and going for a walk, which is free, you could do anywhere. Ideally, if you could get out in nature and amongst trees, there's, you know, a science around forest bathing and the incredible benefits of just seeing greenery, what that does for your mental health. So I have walk snacks, I have strength snacks. That might be an upper body strength snack or a lower body strength snack, or just focusing on your core or your glutes, you know, like certain different body parts. And I have HIIT snacks. HIIT is renowned for being one of those words that people get very scared of in the, you know, from exercise, if you haven't done HIIT before. But I've been teaching even the elderly that we can use HIIT as low impact. So there I have them seated doing star jumps and high knees and things like that, where you're not just, you know, jumping all the time. You can actually get your heart rate up, target the visceral fat, which HIIT is very good for. And you also get a lovely afterburn. So in theory, you know, if you do a good HIIT session, you may be burning calories for about a day or two after that period. So lots of benefits of HIIT, but you could just do a 10-minute HIIT snack while the kettle's boiling or while you're cooking, you know, when you're doing day-to-day tasks. I've even done them behind Zoom cameras. I've done it on the radio and TV to show people that if you can switch off your Zoom camera, because we have all this pressure around working from home and how we're more sedentary now because everything's gone virtual. And we do find ourselves, even me, sitting for longer periods. So if you can switch your Zoom camera off and just follow some of my little snacks, that would help. And I even have things like a stretch snack. I love stretching. I think stretching is the key to success in any exercise program, to help prevent injury, to lengthen the muscles out, and more importantly, it's just those few minutes where you can focus on your breath, a bit of me time and self-care. And that also leads on to my breath snack. So I do believe in the power of even 1 minute. I've called it a mind minute recently, where you could just focus on deep breathing for a minute to help calm anxiety, any stress that you have, kick in the parasympathetic nervous system. So I have loads of snacks, and I know you mentioned my advent calendar. That was a bit of fun. I did actually in 2019, that's when I first got onto Sky News. They picked up on my exercise snacks and they embarrassed me on camera, showing some of my home ideas. I even did them in the supermarket, I did them outdoors, I did them in the car park at school. You know, I did lots of different ones at that time. And this year I've got literally 25 days worth of different snacks that you can just follow. They're all under 10 minutes. And you can admire my crazy fancy dress that I put on just to give a bit of festive fun and raise people's spirits during the pandemic. So yes, exercise snacking, give it a go. And you just kind of find things that fit into your lifestyle. Like I even just said, I had a seniors community session this morning. I had a couple of hundred elderly with me, which was amazing. And I said to them, you know, remember, I told you about stair snacking, which was a great one for lockdown, where I encourage all ages to just use the staircase in their home or their apartment. And there's a study that shows that 3 flights of stairs 3 times a day over a 6-week period had incredible results with your cardio vascular system, your aerobic system, and increase your whole overall body strength just in 6 weeks. So, you know, just simple things like that. I want to make it very easy for people. And then you find something you enjoy. I think that's the big part, is that you've got to make it fun for you. So yeah, a little bit on snacking there.
a lot of snacking there, healthy snacking, and bit of homework as well. I think take-home points to myself. So the fact that you said it's very accessible, it can be done from home. There's clear sort of hardcore scientific research behind some of the stuff that you're promoting, which is always very useful. And the beautiful thing is that you've got the elderly involved over the sort of past few months, probably a year now, almost coming up to a year, I think, or even over a year. And that's very important, isn't it? Because a lot of elderly people, elderly women as well, and even elderly men will struggle to get to the gym. So the fact you've incorporated them is really amazing, honestly. And that's where the sort of real sort of service really lies. And I think if we look at the other thing that you mentioned about snacking as well, the fact that you said that you can do a HIIT workout, or you've given us 10-minute workouts while the kettle's boiling. You even mentioned, I think at one point, you can do 1 minute of sort of deep breathing and relaxation, just a minute, as opposed to people thinking it takes an hour or 2 hours of running around the field. That's what I sort of grew up knowing. So that's really amazing that you've given us those things that we can take forwards. Just wow. I didn't know. I wasn't aware that it was so easy, you know. Then I think this is really important for our viewers out there today, especially in the current climate and sort of the reason behind this festival. One thing you sort of mentioned about was the sort of mental well-being aspect and the sort of positive perks of a lot of people say that you should train our bodies for our health and how we look. But how does can I really pick your brains on how does this physical training and these exercise snackings and all the things you're promoting today, how does that actually impact our mental well-being? And if it does so, can you tell the viewers a bit more about what it really does for our sort of well-being and our mindset, please?
Yes, I always say as much as I can that when you're feeling demotivated, and there's days where even I've been very open on my Instagram, you know, I'll come on and say, I didn't feel motivated today. You know, I'm human. It's not that I'm superhuman, and I do love exercise. But what I always remember is that feeling before, where, you know, you might just be exhausted and you're thinking, I can't do this, and then capture that feeling afterwards. And I guarantee you're going to feel better after any type of movement. So even 5 or 10 minutes into it, there's a sort of around sort of 10 to 20-minute zone, I would say, for people, that do more longer workouts. But you will feel your mood has 100% improved. And it's scientifically proven because you end up releasing these feel-good hormones, so the endorphins in our body. And we have lots. There's serotonin, there's dopamine, there's these endorphins, and exercise actually helps release them. So they are literally just waiting in your body. And I say exercise is that magic free medicine. Rather than popping a pill to feel good, just do some movement. So there's definitely science behind it. And I always encourage you to remember that moment after a workout. So if you're feeling stressed, anxious, even things like depression, if you hit the government guidelines, which is why I always say start off small, eventually we do want to hit the government guidelines, because we know then that if you hit them, and I can talk a little bit about what you want to do to get there, it really reduces your risks of chronic illnesses like I've touched on, but even depression by 30% can be reduced through exercise alone. So, I think, some of the statistics are pretty incredible. And like you said at the beginning, my slogan has been exercise for sanity, not vanity. I continue that. Even I think post the pandemic, the mental health implications of this, last year is going to hit all ages. I encourage my children as well. And mental health in the South Asian community is another whole topic where I'm very passionate about trying to break the taboos. Don't suffer in silence. It's okay, not to be okay. And I've even talked about, my own mental health, my children's mental health. I want to help people start conversing, because the more we share, the better it's going to be for all of us.
No, thank you. And I think that's why it's ever so important we've got you here today, Lavina, to speak to us about these big topics and the sort of taboos behind mental health, especially in the South Asian, the Indian communities, and the people that are watching today are huge. And we could be here for another hour or two talking about those. But the beautiful thing that you said is about the sanity, not the sort of vanity aspect of it. Because there is the groups of women that you said. So the exercise snacking can be really useful for the people that are busy, that have the cultural, the religious barriers, the sort of barriers of having children and the family. So a lot of women today, Indian women that have got families, they can do the exercise snacking part of it. But what about, do you have a message for some of the younger people that are maybe going the other way, sort of exercising because they see the ideal person on like a sort of magazine or something? Do you have any advice for them sort of in terms of their mental well-being, and maybe they shouldn't go too far the other end?
Yes, I am not the typical body transformation coach. I really feel that we need to try and make lifestyle changes that are sustainable. We all know that you could go on a crazy crash diet. I don't believe in diets. I just mentioned it on the BBC the other day that, I put a massive thing out there and got some tweets back saying, oh, wow, you don't believe in diets. I do not believe in diets. Hence, if you could see my mum's book in the background there, she's a biochemist, and we self-published her book, Feel Good with Food, but it's all about the science of food. So nutrition definitely plays a part. What I would say to anyone looking at magazines and things, and even my own Instagram was very private. I did you'll see some pictures of me with, defined abs. And I think a couple of posts a few days ago, I've even put out that picture again to say, I do not look like this all the time. And I don't want to look like this. My priorities have completely changed. I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that our health is really our wealth. It should be our number one priority, but it's not about how we look. It's about how we protect ourselves, how we, prevent these chronic illnesses. We know even through COVID, it's hit the Asian population. We've been disproportionately affected by COVID, and then we're worsened even more by the fact that we've got more obesity and more diabetes in our communities. So anyone that's going for, that crazy 6-week transformation is something that I don't believe in. the photos you see on my Instagram, I never ever wanted to put in public. They were just for my husband and I to do on our anniversary, and we both had our wellness journey together. And I actually didn't even change my food. I love food. That's why I point out my mum that I love food so much that I will always eat everything. I think believe in a balanced diet, like lots of greens, lots of veg, lots of fruit. I'm vegetarian, so it is mainly plant-based. But I think it's just not sustainable, and you put your body under so much pressure and stress that, you know, as a female, I've seen people come to me after some of these transformation programs, and, you know, things like their menstrual cycle has been affected. So their periods may have actually stopped because they've been restricted so much in terms of calories, and they put their bodies through so much intense exercise. I really don't think it's good for the long run. I know it's each to their own, but I think if you focus more on the health benefits, it's going to help you much better in the long run.
Brilliant. I think one of the things that really stood out for me there was that what is sustainable versus what isn't sustainable. Because as we know, like you highlighted very clearly, Lavina, there, that throughout the pandemic, it's shown us that if we're not sustainable and we're not trying to be sustainable going forwards, it's going to be very difficult, especially with like the balanced diet approach you've given, and the fact that you also love food and your journey there. So thank you for sharing that with us as well, because a lot of people think that they have this difficult relationship with food as well, but that in itself is another topic. I really want to just touch upon that point again, because this conference today, this festival we have here, it is about the sustainable narratives around femininity in Hindu and Indian women, and across all communities, like you said, and it will touch a lot of men as well, and children and people of all ages and sort of young genders. If you have sort of 3 sort of main takeaway points that how we can all take this forward, how women can, especially Indian women, can take these fitness and exercises tips that you've given us sustainable in the short term and especially in the long run, both sort of in and out of a lockdown, what would you really say to them? What would be the sort of 3 most important things that you'd really like to highlight and stress, and our viewers can take home today?
I'm going to find it hard to do 3. I am so passionate, as you can see. But
or even a few main of the important ones.
Yeah. I think for the female audience, I would say, please start lifting weights. Don't be scared of strength training. It's not going to bulk you up. We're not going to look like bodybuilders unless that's your goal. But, you know, little old me, I was lifting quite heavy weights eventually. You know, this is over a good 6 to 10 year period. So I'm talking about long term. But the important thing to stress about strength training is that, yes, it's going to burn fat and build muscle. So you're going to get that lovely, you know, toned look that everyone wants eventually. But more importantly than any of that, it's going to help prevent things like osteoporosis. And we all lose muscle mass after the age of 30, and especially as women once we hit the menopause. So in terms of health, lifting weights is very important. I even have the elderly doing their versions, and I've changed all the exercises. You know, I tell them to do shoulder presses because I say it's like being able to put something up yourself and maintain your independence, just like a sit and stand rather than a squat, using the chair. I get them using tins and bottles, like I've said. So women, please lift weights, get into strength training. Trust me, it's going to be better than just going on the treadmill and doing cardio. So if you're new to it, check out obviously some of my snacks to get into it. I've got full-on workouts on my page as well. I have that 21-day plan that my husband and son, you know, joined in. So we had beginners, intermediate, advanced. You can watch us, follow along, lift weights. Second one, I would say, find something that you enjoy. Yeah. So like I've touched on before, exercise, I want it to be done so that you actually feel good afterwards. You're happy. I see people smiling in the workouts. I've got the seniors workouts into care homes recently that have been struck by the pandemic. They may have Alzheimer's and dementia, but they're still being able to move, and that movement, you know, brings a smile to their face. So find something you enjoy is definitely important. And get snacking on exercise. So use the exercise snacks, bite-sized amounts through the day. Even if it's a 10-minute walk after each meal, it's going to help control your blood sugar. So the government guidelines, just to very quickly mention, are 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity over a week. That sounds a lot. Or 75 minutes of vigorous. So that means like going for a run for 75 minutes. But that's the cardio side. What people forget is that you should be doing a minimum of 2 strength training workouts on top of that. And you could just break it down to 30 minutes, 5 times a week, maybe walking, which is my therapy. I love walking. I'm not a runner. And then 2 to 3 strength training workouts, just to keep it simple. But that is going to literally reduce your risk of cancer, type 2 diabetes, early death by 30%, osteoarthritis by 83%, breast cancer by 20%. You know, there's so many powerful statistics out there that backs this, what I'm saying. Well, I really want people to build it into their lifestyles. And then enjoy the journey. Think of it as a journey rather than a transformation or something short term. It's something that I want people to keep going with, and there'll be ups and downs, you know, there'll be peaks and troughs like any journey. Stick with it, be consistent, be patient, and most importantly, be kind to yourself. We've been through such a hard year. As you know, you've been saving people's lives literally as part of the NHS. Every age has been affected by COVID mentally. I really think use exercise to help you, not just physically, but mentally.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lavina, for those closing remarks. So that, for the audience, that just a very brief recap, if I'm correct, that's lift weights, because it's not that hard, as Lavina has said. Really enjoy what you like to do. And the most important thing I think you said at the end there was the long-term benefits on our health, not just physically, but sort of for your mental well-being, especially for the viewers out there and the people tuning in today, and everything that's going on around us in the world with COVID and all the topics that all of our guest speakers are speaking on today. So this will really, really help us to tackle those and to help our well-being and our mindset. Just one more time, Lavina, I really, really want to thank you so much for coming on today. I've learned a lot. I'm sure all of our Hindu, Indian women, men, children, elderly people that are viewing today will have learned a lot. And there's so much we can take home. And for me, especially, the one thing that sticks out is the exercise snacking. It doesn't require 2 hours in a 5-star hotel gym. It's literally 10 minutes at home. So thank you so much for that, Lavina. Really, really enjoyed that. I will definitely follow some of those workouts and walks that you've mentioned. And I hope our viewers do too. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.